of terror in Barbadian history will not cease until all of the perpetrators have been brought to justice. It was on this day 40 years ago that Cubana Airlines Flight 455 was brought down off Barbados' west coast. 73 passengers departed from Sewell Airport at 5:15 in the evening. But minutes later, the joy and laughter of a group of young athletes came to an end when an explosion practically broke the aircraft in half. Among the dead, Cubans, Guyanese, and nationals of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Prime Minister Stewart, in a statement, says terrorism in its modern form is nothing new. He notes that 40 years on, the sadness and outrage caused by the event continue to pervade our consciousness. And as Barbados and affected countries pause on this day, Prime Minister Stewart wants the fight against the scourge of terrorism to continue in all of its manifestations, whatever its source and wherever it occurs. Establishing residential associations could be the answer to curbing instances of antisocial behavior experienced in some communities. That suggestion was raised by the Minister of Culture, Sport and Youth, Stephen Lashley, at today's National Youth Consultation. Mr. Lashley says he has been making efforts to have an association started in his constituency and believes the model could be replicated across the island.
The establishment of residents' associations in all of our housing areas comprise not only of residents, youth and seniors, but including willing community leaders and other resource persons to focus on the holistic development of our housing areas. Some time ago, I assisted in the drafting of the rules for these associations, and I intend to get this going within my own constituency in Gall Hill and Silver Hill to ensure that this program can get started.
Mr. Lashley has also dismissed critics who say his ministry has not been responding to several of the youth challenges.
Through the Youth Development Program, we continue to engage Barbadian youth, and we continue to respond with programs and services to meet their identified needs. Knowledge of these interventions may not be as widespread as they should be, but we have mounted sustained efforts in communities across Barbados to stem the tide of violence and to promote cohesion. Our primary strategy has been to use sports to attract individuals, and once they are in these programs, the sports of development model is then employed.
A St. Philip man has been remanded to Her Majesty's prison at Dodds, charged for the murder of Michael MacDonald Mapp. He is 24-year-old Akeem Dave Mason, alias Zonzi or Killer Bean, of number 2 Blades Hill. Police say Mason was not required to plead to the indictable charge of murdering 42-year-old Michael Mapp, also of number 2 Blades Hill, St. Philip. Mapp was the subject of a missing person bulletin. However, he was discovered dead in a shallow grave at Fortescue, St. Philip on May 24th this year. Mason is scheduled to reappear in court on October 13th. Well, the winds are picking up as Hurricane Matthew approaches the east coast of the U.S. The Category 4 hurricane is expected to generate a high storm surge.
People that have lived here, people that have worked here are very concerned about that. But Richard, let me tell you about what law enforcement are very concerned about at this moment, and that is that many people are actually not heeding the warning to evacuate. Now, where we're driving right now is Atlantic Beach, like you mentioned, and I want to show you around because we have the capabilities to do that in this vehicle to show you kind of just to look outside, and you'll see that it looks like a very normal day. Traffic is normal. Some of the homes are boarded up, and you can tell that some of the people have evacuated. Others have not. The sheriff reporting that 30% of the people have evacuated in this area, and there's a mandatory evacuation for everybody because it is in a very low-lying area. It's right by the beach, and I've even seen even like piles of small debris as people cut some of the branches or just put trash outside. That's what people don't want to see right before a hurricane, because as you know, the winds get very high and all of that becomes flying debris. Now, behind the scenes, of course, first responders are prepared. They're prepared, but they're also telling people you need to get out because first responders can't come rescue you at the height of a hurricane.
Well, Barbadians are being advised by the Department of Commerce of the recall of the tasty sour ground turmeric by Spices USA Inc. The company is recalling 772 bags, 50 pounds each of the tasty sour ground turmeric used for furthering manufacturing or repackaging because it contains elevated levels of lead. And Barbadians are advised not to use this product as lead can accumulate in the body over time, and too much of it can cause serious and sometimes permanent adverse health consequences. The product was packed in 50-pound yellow propylene bags printed with the following information: brand Tasty Sour, size 50-pound bags, lot number 120674, used by the 4/2018, that is April 2018, country of origin India. Now, to this end, the Standards Administration Unit of the department is currently carrying out investigations to ascertain whether this product was imported into Barbados. And we'll have more news after this break. Stay with us.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153 to sign up to Digicel today.
Barbados is celebrating 50 years of independence, and the CBC salutes the people of our nation.
We say respect to our forefathers who paved the way for us.
With admiration, we applaud those who uphold our honor and keep us in good stead.
And we encourage the builders of tomorrow, inspiring growth for a brighter future. A future where we all achieve our goals.
Happy Independence, Barbados!
CBC, celebrating our golden treasure.
Sandals, sandals, sandals galore. Megville gives you ladies sandals for this week only. Monday to Saturday, any pair of sandals for only $25. So go to Megville on Tudor Street, High Street and Palmetto Street for any pair of sandals for only $25. This week only, Monday to Saturday.
Generations for family, commitment to you, for honesty, respect for one another in our community. Trident Insurance, this gem is home for we. With Trident Insurance, we treat you like family.
CBC expresses heartfelt thanks to the many agencies, clients, listeners, and viewers who supported us during tracking the storm. When it happens, you can depend on the CBC to be committed through it all. Thank you.
Barbados has one of the highest in-hospital death rates for acute myocardial infarction or heart attacks. That's according to Dr. Kim Quimby of the Immunology Chronic Disease Research Center. The findings were presented at the Barbados National Registry's continuing education series on acute myocardial infarction at the UEK Phil campus. The island's rate stands at 27% when compared with the global rate of 21%.
Remember, our in-hospital case fatality rate is the number of deaths from MI over the number of MIs in the QEH. So we know that we had 819 MIs. We know that 175 of them died. So in order to calculate our in-hospital CFR, we have 175 over 819. But we have to subtract that 13, but we don't know if they're dead or alive.
Dr. Quimby also expressed concern at the length of time people took to seek medical attention after experiencing symptoms of acute MI.
On average, it takes 4 hours and 5 minutes for patients who have a chest pain or whatever, however they represent, to get to the hospital. It ranges from 10 minutes to 3.5 days. And females are taking a little bit longer than men to show up. But please let me note that this onset to admission time was only documented for 435 patients. So once again, in the notes, that timing was missing for half of the patients.
Palliative care and pain management will be given some close attention over the next week and a half. This as the section of the medical fraternity and volunteers involved host a series of events to continue to bring attention to this often overlooked and misunderstood area of treatment. Deanne Sobers, head of the Barbados Association of Palliative Care, says a day of prayer and the inaugural Tim Graves Memorial Lecture will be the highlights of the event. The lecture, held in conjunction with the University of Southern Caribbean Barbados, celebrates the life of Dr. Graves and focuses the nation on the importance of hospice and palliative care.
Most of us do not realize that we have a holistic pain, whether it's psychological, social, spiritual, or physical. There is pain in each person's life. How that pain is handled is very important. And that's one of the reasons why the world is celebrating this year in terms of pain management. How do you handle pain? What do you do in terms of not only the medication part, but in terms of the psychological counseling, or having your friends with you in terms of the social aspect.
Dr. Natalie Graves, chairperson of the National Advisory Committee on Chronic Pain Management, says an international conference is also on the cards.
At this conference, what we hope to accomplish would be a template for not just advocacy, but for the development of policy on the management of pain, so that across the region there are some basic standards. We have medications that can be assessed, and more importantly, that where there is stigma attached to the use of particular medications, in particular opioids. And when I say opioids, for the most part, we're talking about morphine and some of its related drug types.
The newly opened Maria Holder Nursery School at Gull Hill, Christchurch has decided to start Education Month with a special week of activities. Shane Jones has more.
It's being dubbed Literacy Week, and Principal Alwyn Walker is seeking to promote literacy in the early years.
The theme for Education Month is Education 50 and beyond, and one of the things that will remain stable, will be the fact that the children must be literate. So we started off our Literacy Week with a book drive. We invited the parents to come in and to donate a book, either a new book or a used book. And the children were extremely excited about it. They came on mornings, they dropped their books in a box, and then they would take their books and read them on mornings to each other, or the teachers would read with them.
The students were also exposed to puppetry and will be treated to some of the characters from the books coming to the school to sing to them and promote literacy.
We know that when children begin to read, they begin to read from the early years. So we want them to develop a love for reading. We also want them to understand that what they say is also represented in print, and then we will have fabulous readers and fabulous citizens of Barbados.
Early childhood coordinator at the school, Shirley Vaughn, says the activities help to develop language skills.
We had some parents coming in and reading stories to the children. We also had them answering questions based on the books that they read, and we had them dramatizing some of the stories and also selecting which stories they liked best.
And the response from the children has been fantastic.
Dumpty Dumpty sat on the wall.
And what happened to Humpty Dumpty?
Sat on the wall and fall down.
And fall down. And what happened with all those men?
Dumpty Dumpty gather again.
Aw, too sweet. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Well, one of Barbados's musical pioneers has passed away. He is Lord Sivers, who lived in New Jersey in the United States. Lord Sivers, who had several hits, started his career right here in Barbados in the early 60s before he left for the United States. His Barbados I Love You song is one of the most widely played and loved tunes over the years, and it's a favorite at Independence Time. Also to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region.